Mehraboon Irani, Principal and Head of Private Client Group Business with Nirmal Bank Securities, joins us live. Mehraboon, good morning and great to have you back on ET. Now, in quick time, we moved from 6,000 to 6,500. On paper, materially nothing has changed. Macro tailwinds, global concerns, political uncertainty, they still exist. But we've seen a big and a powerful move.
I think it can be described in one sentence, Nikunj. It's 100% Narendra Modi rally. I think you call it pre-election, I call it Narendra Modi is one and the same thing. The fact is, the hope has come in that macro factors will improve. Whatever we have seen as far as current account deficit, fiscal deficit goes, all those things, according to me at least, are numbers which are fudged. You controlled gold imports, current account deficit, you brought in the check, you control government expenditure. So it's going to happen at the sacrifice of growth, no doubt about it. But what has happened suddenly? The fact is, hopes that the macros will improve, hopes that bond yields will fall, hopes that rupee will appreciate. You saw what is happening in the market. The bank stocks moved up, the cement stocks moved up, everything related to Indian economy has started going up very sharply. One way to say it is they had come down very sharply, so they bounced back. And in a rally, always the beaten down sectors, beaten down stocks bounce the fastest. But why did pharma fall? Why did IT fall? Because you have a hope that rupee will strengthen or rupee will at least stabilize at the present level. So, whole lot of reasons. Ultimately, the end of it all, I can promise you that the shirts are going to be off if the election verdict is something different. Like we just have to say the opinion poll that, okay, it's going to be hung parliament and the market can come down by 5-7% in a day. So we are on honestly a very sticky wicket as of now, despite the fact that we are high. But if you ask me, the risk trade is on. And I personally feel we could go up higher. The momentum will take us higher. And the factor which will contribute to this is sheer sentiment. Because fundamentals, like you rightly say, have not improved much.
So you're not a buyer in this market?
I am a buyer in this market. You have to trade in this market. You have to trade on the long side in this market right now. The fact is, we have bought into banks recently. We have bought into cement stocks recently, all on the hope that ultimately this is going to happen. And if you had asked me this question 1 month ago, Nikunj, I had said the same thing on your channel, that the fact is the markets are going to have a very sharp rally as and when the Modi effect comes into play, whether it happens post-election, before election. That we knew this thing is going to happen. The fact has happened 1.5 months before the election. So what happens in the next 45-50 days, elections are still far away. I personally feel the risk trade is on. Markets could go up higher. And if we have the macroeconomic data coming this week on the consumer price inflation, on the IIP numbers, which the market likes, for all you know, we could see higher levels this week itself. Though the fact is Ukraine is still a problem. Chinese data is still not very good. So there are a whole lot of factors which we will have to continue to monitor. But I personally feel somewhere there could be a correction here and there, but the market may end up overlooking in the hope that we are going to have a favorable election verdict. So what we are seeing for the last few days could continue, despite the fact that there could be a couple of accidents here and there because of Russia problem or China problem or whatever. The fact is, I think this trade right now, which is on the long side, could continue for some more time.
And Indian markets also have rallied quite substantially the day election dates were announced. So if history has to repeat itself, this rally should peak out soon.
Yeah, definitely, distinctly possible. But if you go back to October 13, the fact was that if the assembly election verdict comes in the line with the market expectations, it's distinctly possible that the parties which are sitting on the border may possibly tilt towards the NDA. That was the hope the markets had, and that is what is getting played out right now. So the alliances story and other things as far as the election scene goes. But I personally feel that what is happening in this market right now is that the sentiment is playing a role, and sentiment is largely dictated by one factor, that is the Modi factor.
So are you telling me that foreigners are buying into Indian stocks because they believe Modi will come back? Because foreigners normally never take such a binary approach. I mean, they only invest in a country where they feel the economic fundamentals are in place. They only invest in a country where they see earnings visibility. And that explains why foreigners in the last 2 or 3 years have only bought into IT and pharma.
Definitely it's a factor which is contributing, though that's not the only factor. The fact is that it's a risk trade.
Okay.
And nothing is going to stop these foreigners from selling at one go if something doesn't work out in line with their expectations. The fact is, if the election verdict is favorable, and when I say election verdict, let's talk straight, Narendra Modi comes into power. FIs included feel that overall the Indian economic cycle may go for an upturn. It may take its own time. If right now you are arguing and I am arguing and we are arguing the same thing, that as of now the growth is going to be sacrificed in the name of fiscal discipline. That is true, Nikunj. But Going ahead, will things improve? That is what gets played out. And as of now, people feel if the election verdict is there, decisions will start happening, things will improve, though it will be 2, 3, 4 quarters away. I personally feel 2014 is going to be a very, very, very challenging year in terms of growth. Things are not going to improve on the ground. So this is a trade, and you are playing for it. The next question can come, which is in my mind also, that if the markets go up very sharply, after election, will the markets go up further? Or will it falter because all the open positions, will they get squared up? Because what was expected will happen. So buy on rumor, sell on news. Will that happen? Could happen. Or will we see a 7,000 or 7,400 coming if the election voted is in favor? It's honestly a very difficult call. But as of now, the risk trade is on. The problem for us is whether we go away from the defensives, that is the pharma, IT and FMCG, and move into the cyclicals. If we already not moved into it, some of them have gone up by 40, 50, 60%. Can we go and buy them right now despite knowing somewhere that things are actually not improved? It's honestly a very difficult call, but as of now, the trade is on. If you want to participate in the trade with some risk involved, I think the trade should be in the long side.
So what is it that you're doing for your clients? Staying put in IT and pharma even now?
I think I'll be very honest. 2 months ago, I had passed a remark on this channel, which eyebrows were raised. A lot of people called me up and asked me this question: how could you be so brash? I stated that in staying invested in bank stocks was a wastage of time. But I have gone and bought into bank stocks last week all over again, because if the market believes that there is reason for hope and things will improve, then let me also go and buy into certain stocks or certain sectors which are related to the Indian economy. And if bond yields are going to come down and rupee is going to strengthen, which I am not seeing it, there's a market perception, then let me go and buy into bank stocks, because bank stocks will be the first to move up, along with some cyclicals. So we have bought into a couple of stocks like a Voltas or a Larsen & Toubro in the capital goods pack. And we have gone and bought into banking stocks. The point is, will I go on reducing my exposure or weightage in defenses and move more into cyclicals? Is going to be a very difficult call, and I think this week's movement of the market will possibly determine it.
So do you have a price to target in mind for L&T and Voltas?
I think we have more or less come to the level to which the stocks should have gone up. In fact, it's exceeded our expectations. So we may take some profits off the table, but we will try and identify more and more stocks of this type, because as of now, we continue to like certain names. In IT, we continue to like names like an FSL. And textiles, I think, is going to be the next sector to watch for. We are liking Lakshmi Machine Works. We are liking Himmat Singha Seed.
Or the thinking is that, look, I need to participate, I need to buy beta, I need to really, capitalize on the current momentum, then why buy names like Kotak Mahindra Bank? Why look at something like HDFC Bank? Why not buy a SBI or BOB? Because those are beaten down stocks, and in terms of in relative beta, they have one of the highest beta.
I definitely agree with you on this. So there could be one PSU bank which should be there in your portfolio. I've always been averse for it for the last many years, because I know the book value which we are seeing right now is just a figure, because it doesn't really matter, because the book is very faulty. We all know that. So therefore, yes, if somebody has got a risk appetite, he can go and buy into an SBI, for all you know, even into a Bank of Baroda or PNB. So one PSU bank stock could be in the portfolio if one wants to play this risk trade. As far as your point on private sector banks goes, I think, yes, you're right. HDFC Bank, I think, had its own problems right now as far as the holding pattern goes and all. So if that has been taken care of, it could be at least 20, 30, 40 rupees higher than where it is today. I don't dispute that. Even an HDFC Bank, IndusInd Bank, along with a Kotak Bank, if one looks at quality, I think could be included right now. The point is, they went up too sharply on Friday. If there is a correction, it will definitely be a lovely entry for a trade.
Which is one cyclical stock you are happy to own right now? I mean, which you think still offers value?
I would still stick to Tata Motors. I think we had a target of 500. We are still sticking to that.
It's hardly cyclical. It's a structural story now.
Okay, in that particular way, I think in this market, most of the cyclicals have gone up. And I was hearing the comment of your correspondent stating about Crompton relatively attractive. I promise you, most of the stocks will be available cheaper post-March results.
We bought Tata Power last.
Tata Power, I still like it. I'll tell you this way, Nikunj, that quite a few of the stocks which I would like to own for my clients, the fact is, if I own them, I have to advise my clients, educate my clients that you need to be patient.
Okay.
The fact is, I promise you that 4 out of 5 voices on the street, maybe 2 quarters later, will come and recommend Tata Power to you. But the stock would be about 90-95. Can the stock falter to 70 rupees or 65 rupees? It can. But at the present level, I promise you that I'm going to make more than 50-60% returns in the next 12 months. And this return will come up very sharply. I remember the time when everybody was out on the street criticizing Crompton Greaves when the stock was 90 rupees or a Voltas when it was 90 rupees. And everybody wants to buy the same stock when it is 50% higher. That shows how much momentum has come into the market today. When there is momentum, people like to chase it. So you are an early bird, you buy into a Tata Power, let people come and criticize it one fine day, but the story turns. Stock starts going up, people realize it, then the analysts will come and start saying, now the stock should be bought, now the stock should be bought. There will be stop losses in place, but I promise you the targets will go on getting achieved. And for all you know, the stock will be a 125 rupee stock in the next 12 to 18 months. And then people will say, oh, in 2014, early 2014, the stock was available at 74 rupees. And I ignored it. There is a story right now in Tata Power. The Mahan thing, the story, ultimately what has been written off may again come back into the books. The earnings will ultimately go up unfunded. That's my conviction. And
Arvind Kejriwal?
Arvind Kejriwal, according to me right now, whatever we are hearing is mainly from the election angle.
Okay.
We need to accept the fact that power tariff rates in this country need to go up, full stop. So I'm a believer in Tata Power ultimately, though I'm not saying one should be buying into a hurry. If you have the patience, this could be the stock which could end up giving you good money.
Okay, Mehraboon, on that note, we're going to let you go. Always good having you on the show.